All right, I'm here with Ruth Myrick. She's been so kind to let me come in, and she lived here in Trafford all of her life, and she knew my father, the siblings, and my grandparents growing up. Miss Myrick, on behalf of my two brothers, Jerry and Barry, I want to extend our heartfelt gratitude for you letting me come by here and learn more about my family that I don't know. My dad's side of the family. Uh, will you tell me how well did you know my grandparents, Myrtle and John Homer Sanders? Did you know them pretty well?
Yes. Pretty well.
Okay, and I guess you knew them when you were growing up here, when you were young.
Right.
Um, did you know the children? And I'm gonna name the children. My grandmother had a bunch of boys, and I think had one girl. She had John Jr., Herschel, Harold, Howard, Ralph, Jesse Williams, and I knew him as J.W.
Jesse's buried up here. I forgot to tell you.
Okay,
He's buried on the back side.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I did go up there and look at the graves, and then there was James and Polly.
I guess you didn't know he was up here too.
You know, I did. You talking about my father?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I knew that I did not remember. I knew when they buried him, but I didn't recall it being Trafford back 30-something years ago when he passed away.
Right.
But tell me what you remember about Myrtle and John Homer.
Well.
And I know there was some bad stuff that happened in my family, and I really want to.
He wasn't very good to her.
Yeah.
Now, I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
His own daddy says he wasn't. Like I said, his daddy boarded with my mother and daddy for 5 or 6 years. That's your granddaddy.
That would have been my granddaddy.
Mm-hmm. Sanders. His name was Faith.
Uh-huh. And so he boarded with y'all?
With my, mm-hmm. I helped take care of him because I was taking care of my mother and daddy.
Mm-hmm. And that would have been William Lafette, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And my grandmother would have been Minnie Farmer?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Okay. So what type of person was he? You said he knew that my grandfather didn't take care of or was abusive?
He was a good man.
Okay.
Now, Miss Sanders, your grandmother, Minnie, she took up for them boys. She had one daughter, Elsie. She's buried up here too.
Okay.
And her son.
What did William Lafette do, my great grandfather? What did he do for a living?
Well, he worked in the mines for years until retirement.
Okay. In the coal mines?
Mm-hmm.
And what did Minnie do?
She was just a housewife.
Housewife.
Mm-hmm.
How about John Homer, my grandfather? What did he do for a living?
You know, I don't really know.
You don't remember what he did?
They didn't live here a lot of the time.
Oh, okay. So they lived. I think they lived in Jefferson County, but maybe it's another town.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Okay. My daddy. Did you know my daddy, Jesse?
Yes.
Did y'all call him Jesse growing up, or did y'all?
Jesse's all I ever knew.
You know, it's funny, you might laugh, but he would, after he was grown, he would fight you if you called him Jesse. He did not like nobody called, he wanted to be called J.W. And that's all I ever knew him as was J.W.
Well, actually, that's what Elsie called him too. He was her, he'd come visit her a lot too.
Okay. And did you go to school with the boys, with my daddy and his brothers? Did y'all go to school together?
No, they were old little. Your daddy was a little older than me.
Okay. Okay. Where did you go to school here in Trafford?
I went here to the elementary school and to the 9th grade, and then we transferred over to Warrior.
Oh, okay. So you didn't go to none of the other.
No.
You didn't go with Polly or any of the kids that you didn't remember them in school. Did y'all?
I remember. Let me see. Her daughter, She had a daughter. What was her name? They used to come out here a lot and visit the graves.
Polly?
Pauline.
Pauline.
Pauline's what I call her.
Okay, Pauline.
Yes.
Do you know if they still come and visit the graves?
I haven't heard from him in years.
Okay.
Do you know anything about him?
You know, very little. I think she's still living, but I just don't know anything about her.
I haven't heard from them in years. They don't come back. Now, the boy that died last, is buried there, he would come. Because he lived around here.
Uh-huh. And that would that have been Ralph or James?
James, I think.
James, okay. And there was also Herschel. Did you know them growing up?
I knew Herschel better than the others.
Can you just tell me what you remember? I was going to start with my dad, and I called him Jesse because that's what y'all knew him growing up. Tell me what you remember about Jesse. Just any stories or anything.
He was real nice. He went to church. There was a church right out here where this house is.
Uh-huh.
And it, on that lot next to it, and it was the Church of God, and he came, and I know Elsie, his aunt, was really fond of him. He stayed with her some.
Okay. Did you go to church there too?
Yes. And after he left here, I didn't know too much more about him until they brought him back here.
Okay. And so Jesse went to a church. It was a Church of God that y'all went to.
Yes, that's what his grandmother and granddaddy belonged to it.
Okay. And I'm assuming he went to church with them then.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Did they have like Sunday school or?
Yeah, they had Sunday school, and then they would have the preaching. And
did you go to Sunday school?
Yeah.
Did you? Was my daddy in your Sunday school class or?
I can't. I think he was older than me. How old would you say he would be?
You know, my daddy, I think, would be 90, maybe 91, somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
He'd been in his early 90s, I believe, if he had lived. Mm-hmm. I want to say he was.
Well, I'm 89.
Okay, so I'm going to say he was probably a couple of 2 or 3 years older than you.
I think so, and I guess he married pretty early.
Mm-hmm. You didn't know his first wife. Did you know her?
Mm.
And they had I think 2 children. Mm. And then he married my mother. Did you know my mother, Bernice? Did you ever meet her? It was Bernice Hughes. And her mother was Evelyn Cole. I don't guess you knew any Coles.
I didn't know any of them.
Okay. Do you remember did you ever go when Granny Sanders lived here, did you ever go to her house?
Oh, yes. Do you know where it's at?
I don't know where it's at. I'd love to see it though. Is
right
it still
across,
here?
Huh?
I'd love to go see it if I knew where it was. I'd love to go by there.
You just go right across this railroad, and you go down a little bit, and it's just a little old straight house there. It's next to a little old garage thing. That's where they lived for years and years and years.
Is that so? That's where they lived.
Yeah, their first house burned, and then they built that one.
Okay.
And it's still standing.
You know, I barely remember her. When I was about 3 or 4, we would go visit her, and what I remember about her, and I was so young I could just vaguely remember. Mm-hmm. I remember she was a real sweet lady.
Yeah, real slender.
Yeah, and she was just I remember she was a real
had long hair and wore it up in a.
I remember that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
she was afraid of storms. Every time it stormed, we'd see her just hitting it across here if he wasn't at home.
Uh-huh. So
they were nice people.
And do you remember she had a parakeet? Do you ever remember that?
I don't really remember. My mother did too, so I imagine she did.
Okay. Yeah, and my brother's one to remember that. I can just vaguely remember that, but when Jerry mentioned that to me, but and we always thought that was kind of neat. Do you remember when Uncle John killed my grandfather, when he shot my grandfather? the house that's still here, is that the house that happened in, or did that happen in the house that burned?
That happened in the old.
The one that burned? Do you remember anything about that house burning? Was there anything suspicious about it?
Well, I really couldn't tell you. There was another house right next to it, and here's what we always heard, that this other house, it burned too, and that the kids was playing with matches, and it caught theirs. They were so close together.
Okay, so 2 houses burned.
Yes, right there.
And you don't remember about when that was?
No, I don't.
It was just many, many years ago?
Many years ago.
But that was a house that Uncle John shot his dad in. Was that house the one that burned?
As far as I know.
Okay. Whenever that happened, I know this is a real small community, and I know that had to have been something that really...
Well, I'll tell you what, Grandpa Sanders' fate, he told my daddy and mother, and he was a truthful man, your daddy wasn't real good. I mean, granddaddy to your grandmother. Mm-hmm. She was a nice lady, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. He had a drinking problem, didn't he?
Yes.
He drank a lot of alcohol.
And like I told you, Elsie, the daughter, she was a real good friend of mine. She lived up at Hayden, but she passed away several years back.
Uh-huh. And
she came here a lot. She used to tell me a lot of stuff. She loved the boys, but Elsie never felt like she was loved. That's what she'd tell me.
Uh-huh. Wow.
But she was a nice person. And Elsie has had 2 boys, Ralph and Ray. And Ralph's passed away. His wife lives in Florida. She brought him back here and buried him by Elsie.
Okay.
And I keep up with her.
Okay.
And we talk back and forth, and when she gets to come this way, she always comes by to see.
Okay. And whenever that happened, where Uncle John killed my grandfather, what was do you remember the talk in the community? Was there any talk about exactly what happened, or?
All I really can remember was Miss Sanders come just to screaming, and I remember that he always told us that Myrtle was a good woman, and he must have been mistreating her. Now that's the way we always thought. He wasn't good to her.
So you remember Granny Sanders screaming after it happened?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you must have been a little girl then.
I was, and she loved her boys better than she did Elsie, her daughter, because Elsie used to talk. I wish she was still living.
Yeah, that would be.
She could really tell you plenty.
She could tell me a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about this in years. I knew when I passed the house over there, I'll think about them.
Okay.
But after she passed away, Elsie lived in Birmingham. He went down there to live, and he just couldn't stand it. And my daddy had a trailer here on that property up there, and he let him come out here and live.
Now, who come?
That was your granddaddy.
The granddaddy came out here. Lafette.
Yeah.
William Lafette. Okay. Do you know was there any kind of, did the police go to that shooting, or was there any kind of investigation?
I really don't remember.
Anything in the paper? Do you remember, was there anything in the paper?
I don't remember that either.
So, okay. Did you go to the funeral, or did your parents go to the funeral?
I'm sure my parents did. They were close to the Sanderses.
Okay.
Like I said, my daddy let him stay here till, like I said, on our property till he passed away.
Okay.
And he got sick one day, and the one in Birmingham was good to come to see him. You called his name a while ago.
Herschel?
Herschel.
Or, okay.
Herschel was good to come to see him.
Okay.
And I hadn't heard from none of them.
Yeah. And that would have been, William Lafette, I believe, would have died around 1950, in the 50s, I believe.
Well, I don't agree.
Yeah, I think
probably so. I'd have to look over.
Yeah. And Granny Sanders got a train coming through.
Yeah, they don't bother me. I don't even pay
You don't even hear it, do you? Uh, I believe Granny Sanders Myrtle died in about 75, I believe. Was when she passed away. Did you go? Did you attend her funeral?
I just don't remember.
Okay. Did you? Do you remember when John Jr. is the one that killed his father? Do you remember when John went in the war and got killed in the war? Do y'all remember that?
I don't remember.
You don't remember him getting killed in the war?
I don't remember.
You know, I read in the paper where they brought his body back in 1985, and he's buried by his father up there. But do you remember anything about that?
Oh, up here.
Uh-huh.
I know I knew they brought somebody back here and there, and he's there.
Okay. I had an uncle, Howard, that committed suicide. One of Granny Sanders' sons, one of my uncles, in the 60s. Do you remember that happening or anything?
Not really.
Did you know Howard growing up?
No.
You don't remember him? So, do you go to Trafford Baptist Church now, or?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And I think that's where my Granny Sanders went.
No.
She didn't go to Trafford?
She went right out here to the building. It was the Church of God.
Oh, so they all went to the Church of God.
Him went to the Church of God.
Do you know if the Church of God is not there anymore, is it?
No, it's up here. It's on the way. You take this road right out here and go on so far up there, and it's sitting up there just off of the road up there. They moved it.
Okay, so the church
now the
records.
old building and everything's still out there.
Oh, okay. But they moved the church.
They built them another one.
Oh, okay. And I'm gonna ride by and see it when I leave.
Okay.
And you said the old building is right here.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then you turn and go up.
It was right here, see, but
Okay.
It's been torn down.
Okay. So there's nothing there. The old church they went to is torn down.
The old houses out here was the parsonage.
Oh, okay.
And that lady, she passed away a little while ago, and
okay.
And her house is empty, but a grandson is out there in that little trailer stuck up there.
Okay. And I'm gonna see if I can find my grandmother's house too when I leave. You said it was down.
It's got some form of a siding on it. Seems like it's sort of reddish. You know,
okay.
old stuff.
Okay, and that's back up the road a little bit?
You go across the railroad here.
Oh,
you go right out to the end here.
And you
turn
left and go across the railroad? Yeah. Okay.
And go down a few houses. Let me see. There'll be a house, there's a no service station there where you'll turn.
Okay.
Right across the railroad there. You can see it. And then you go down, and it's just a little old straight house there.
Okay. I just want to ride by and take a look at it. Now, you were talking about you knew my grandfather, William Lafette, and Minnie Farmer.
Really good.
You knew them real well. Do you remember there was, according to legend, Mimi Farmer was kidnapped from her home by Indians? And do you remember anything about that?
He used to tell that. We'd all get a kick out of it, but I never did know. But they said that was so.
Oh, so that's something that was told back years ago?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you ever talk with Mimi? Did she ever tell about it?
No, she never did.
So who would tell about that? William Lafette would tell about it?
Mm-hmm.
And it said she eventually escaped after she got some help from a white family, and it was supposed to be somewhere in Warrior. So that is something that was told years ago. Do you know if any of my family were did any of them play baseball? My dad or their brothers, or
not that I know.
Did they play music, or any preachers in the family, any teachers, anything like that?
No.
And you said you knew my dad, Jesse, pretty well. Anything you can remember that was either funny or unusual that happened when he was growing up? Or
well, my older sister, older than me, and him was real close, but she's passed away 2 years ago.
Okay.
They were real close. Not boyfriend or sweethearts, nothing like that, but they just real good friends.
Okay. And do you, are you a Christian? Do you know the Lord?
I go up to the Baptist.
Do you?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
my husband always went up there, but my daddy was Church of God preacher.
Okay.
But after I married, the church moved away up there, and we started to go into he joined the Baptist.
The Baptist church.
We started there.
And I'm wondering if my Granny Sanders, you know, if she ever made a profession of faith in church, and she was a believer.
Church of God.
She was a
Her
Christian.
and him both belonged to the Church of God.
John Homer did too.
Mm-hmm.
Did he go to church? Did he ever go to church, or?
Long time ago.
But he just had a drinking problem.
Yeah. Well, that was, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just know, you know, that Mr. Sanders, the older man, told us that he wasn't good to Myrtle.
Yeah. And that's what we had heard too.
And Myrtle was always a fine lady, fine woman.
And Elsie,
she is quiet.
Yeah, Elsie that you talked about. Who was Elsie married to?
She married a Wilson.
Okay, and Elsie was one of the daughters.
She's the only daughter of Faith and Minnie.
Okay, I thought Pauline was.
No, Pauline was John's daughter. Their son. I'm talking about the older grandpa and the grandma.
Oh, you talking about Elsie, you talking about Lafayette.
She belonged to them.
She belonged to Lafayette.
She was, She was only one daughter with and the rest of them were sons.
Oh, okay. So she would have been, I got you.
Let me see. One of them's name was Hatton. And she had two more, but I can't remember their names. It's been so long, and they didn't even live here.
Okay.
Hatton lived in Birmingham.
Okay. Well, is anything else that you can think of that might be interesting for me to know, or for my brothers to know?
Well, actually, they were just plain people, church-going people, good people.
And that was my daddy and the brothers and all of them went to church, I guess,
growing up, they did.
They all
grew up in church. After they married, they, done as they pleased.
Yeah. Well, my dad was in the war. He went off to war, and of course John did, and John was killed by a Japanese sniper, John Jr.
Yeah.
And supposedly he was killed by a Japanese sniper, and then of course they found his body and brought him back in 1985. We lost contact after my mother and father divorced. We had very little contact with my dad after that, and so we lost contact with all of his family.
Yeah.
So we just didn't know any of them. And I started out.
They, like I said, that Minnie and Faith, they were real good people. Like I said, my daddy let him live on our property here. Daddy owned the trailer till he got sick, and me and my husband took him to, it was the Norwood Hospital way back then, and he didn't live to come out. Elsie lived on around there, and I went over there and got her, and she came. And
well, when did Minnie die? Do you remember?
She died before. I tell you what, I had books here with all this in it, and then I got to where I was afraid that I couldn't keep up with everything like it ought to be, so I got, you may have saw the boy cutting grass up there once. He told me one of the Sanders.
Yes.
Tommy Love. I've let him have it. Him and my niece she takes care of the books, and he cuts the grass and takes care of it.
Oh, okay. So you had a lot of stuff like.
Right. But I still help them send out the letters to people that has them buried, and that's the way we keep it cut and clean, is donations, and decoration always falls on Mother's Day.
Okay. Well, I sure do appreciate you letting me come by, and I've learned some things particularly about my daddy's grandparents.
Yeah.
That I didn't know, and that's interesting. And I know my brothers will be, they'll love hearing this too. And I started doing I retired in 2012, and I do some consulting work for some insurance companies. I'm a police safety risk manager, And Trafford is one of my accounts. I got 220 something police departments I
knew you'd
visit.
come down here.
Well, I did, and when I saw it, I said I'm gonna be going to Trafford, and I asked Laura Evans, who was a police chief.
She was here. She's not here
Yeah,
anymore.
she left.
Yeah, but I still see her.
Yeah, she's a nice lady. But
Oh,
I told her I had family here and all, and of course she came to made contact with you and came back and told me that. Yeah, and I always appreciate her doing that. That was very kind of her.
She was real nice.
Yeah, she was. She was very nice. Anyway, I appreciate it, and I'm gonna go see if I can find the church and find the house that
it's easy.
Granny
It's just
Sanders
sitting
lived in.
right off of the road there, and you know. And I don't know how you come in here.